Welcome to the Kaizorian Experience. Over here, we're going to be talking about everything African. We're going to be having debates, discussions, entertainment, as well as learning about business, art, history, and everything in between. Cultural, tribalism, and everything. We're going to be out here debating with some really interesting stuff. So, like the video, share the video, and make sure you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. Subscribe for the best experience ever. This is the biggest channel on the Afrosphere. So come and join the team, become a Kaizorian, and join the Kaizorian Empire.
Universally exist within myself, within this premise, and I exist within this bluebird in the sky. I'ma fly like the blue in the sky. I'ma fly like bird in the sky. I'ma fly like bluebird in the sky. I'ma fly like bluebird in the sky. I'ma fly like bluebird in the sky. I'ma throw my bluebird in the sky. I'ma soar like bluebird in the sky. I'ma soar like bluebird in the sky. I'ma fly like bluebird in the sky. I'ma fight like bluebird in the sky. I'ma eat like bluebird in the sky. I'ma be like bluebird in the sky. I'ma be bluebird in the sky. I'ma be free, bluebird in the sky. I'ma be free like bluebird in the sky. I'ma be like bluebird in the sky. Back again like the second coming. Strumming my vocal cords like the hummingbird in the sky. Y'all can't deny this. Real rap lyrics, it's like I ain't got no rhyming through the sky limit. What is skin tone, shade of color, but a parallel form of frequency like a ringtone on your phone. Melanin expression tied up in the universe, feeling like God. Is it really us? Is it serious? Is it really wrong to be diverse? I'm a divergent, immerse myself like an ocean beneath this waves. Be a divergent, born to be different. Indigo child, wild like canary. Born to be a bluebird in the sky, flying high like a bluebird in the sky. I'ma fly high, bluebird in the sky. Yeah, bluebird in the sky. I'ma fly high, bluebird in the sky. I'ma be like bluebird in the sky. I'ma be like bluebird in the sky. Everybody scream bluebird in the sky. I'ma fly high, bluebird in the sky. I'ma be like bluebird in the sky. Yeah, bluebird in the sky. Everybody, bluebird in the sky. I'ma be like bluebird in the sky. I'ma be like bone black, sweet like a berry. Flying high, high like a canary. Scary with my hoodie on. Hating on my vibe on the street that you'll be feeling my frequency of the song. But I know that I ain't never ever gonna be ever the same. But I know.
Well, in.
Yes.
And today we're going to have a deep chat about a new term that Radhika will
Talk about.
explore and delve into.
This episode will talk.
Yeah, shut up, guys. We're going to just talk and delve into black tax. What happens within black or African communities. Generally, it happens in other groups too, right? Filipinos have the same concept, etc. Tends to be communities from third world countries where people start making it finally, and the parasitic family members want you to give them everything and not giving a chance to rise first.
Talk about black tax.
All right.
What does that mean for the everyday Kenyan Africans? Is it just should it really be called black tax? Is it a problem amongst just Africans, or does it happen in the Indian community? Does it happen in the English?
Yeah, it happens it happens in all communities, right? It's a class-based tax system. But it happens more so in communities where people have a longer history of culture, whereby there is an incentive, or rather there is a forcing of people to help their family members, aka African cultures have this very communal like structures. Indian families also, Filipinos, you can name all the various different types of communities, but it's usually impacted by class. So imagine you come from a village, right, or town, small town. You finally got your degrees or some kind of qualification that is now paying off a little bit higher than the average individual in that area. Your family now think you're rich. They start expecting you to chip in and help them with money, even though you yourself haven't secured your future yet. So that's more or less what black tax is. But yeah, there's many other countries or groups of people that are not black that have a similar thing. It's a class-based structure with communalism, ingrained within their cultures.
Community, God knows.
All
We'll
right.
figure it out.
Tons of questions.
Lots of questions. Yeah, so that's really timely. So tell me, Ro, why are you a victim? What happened?
So this is the story, okay? So left Nairobi, like, you know what? I've left on August 7th. I'm going to cast my vote August 9th. I've chilled with my people. I've done my stuff. And yeah, I'm just waiting on results to come. Okay. But then what goes round that the son of Nairobi is in the village, you know?
Yeah.
And from 6 a.m., I was getting delegations, you know? Folks were coming,
Oh, wow.
knocking on the door.
Yeah, look, the other issue here is this, right? Like, and I get it, it's part of their culture. That's why this happens to them, and it doesn't really happen to me. Hey, look, when your life starts being a bit higher than everybody else's life, you got a couple options, not many, to be honest, viable options, right? Either you change the way that you do things in order for you to actually, let's say, bring them inwards, take them inwards, right, and then help them, right, by helping them, mostly monetary help, etc., or things that are closely related to it, like resources, food, etc., right? Either you can be that kind of big man in your little village and take on that role, or you can make sure that no one can have access to you. That's an alternative thing. People shouldn't be able to knock on your house, right? There should be a big ass gate with security guard, and you're just like, the guy's busy, he's not available, right? You gotta figure out how you want to do things, right? At the end of the day, you can't complain about people wanting things from you when you clearly have more than other people, and then you go into a dusty village where people don't have things that you have.
Or just saying hello. Yeah, I was just passing by. I was 40 kilometers away. I had you here, so I said to pass by.
Wow.
You know? And the long and short of it, out of all this, I forked out a lot of money for various undertakings, some I had no clue about, you know?
So why did you fork out your money?
I mean, all these guys, my relatives, okay?
You
Some
felt
folks-
emotionally obliged.
Yeah. And you know, someone tells me, oh, been friends with your mom for ages as well. We used
I don't know how this actually gets to people. I don't care if you've been friends with my mom, right? You could have been my mom's teacher, my mom's nanny. It's irrelevant to me. No offense, right? If you've made that connection with her, that's the connection with us. But I get it, right? This is African culture in general, right? A lot of emotional manipulations going on, a lot of sidelining, people not being straightforward or genuine to you, straightforward in your face. A lot of emotional manipulation, and I think it works for them, right? Because the culture, generally African cultures, right, and specifically, I guess in this case, Kenyan, probably Luo. Hey, there's that kind of expectations for you to so-called help your family members. For me, I'll remove myself from a situation that wasn't benefiting me. It's simple as that, right? You don't have to think too difficult about it. But I understand it. I just think it doesn't make sense.
to do this together back in the 80s.
Did you call your mom to check?
No. I mean, the person is right in front of me. I'm not going to go to the phone and like, hey, mom, do you know this person? You know?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think I've financed a couple of houses, right? I've paid school fees for a number of kids,
Yeah.
and healthcare bills as well.
You thought
Yeah.
you would leave Nairobi, go de-stress,
Yes.
have a cheap weekend.
Yeah, and you see, there's actually a lot of lack of self-awareness, bro. You're going to a village to de-stress. Is your mindset correct? Go to a village where nobody knows you. Like, there's already a lot wrong going on with what the brother is saying right now, right? You gotta be self-aware of your living standards, the opportunities in life that you have that other people don't have, and that difference being able to be something that people see that they don't have. In this case, bro, you're rich right now. You're in Nairobi, right? You're doing well. You're fat. You're flourishing. And you think to de-stress, you go to a village where people are poor and they know you? No offense. Go to one of those rich people village experience resorts. You're gonna spend much less, and you won't need to pay any black tax.
Away because Nairobi's become expensive.
Right?
But instead, going to Shags was way more expensive.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Jesus, yeah.
It's like I took a trip, I don't know, to Paris or somewhere. I'm just looking at how much I actually ended up paying.
Yeah.
And I'm back. I'm like, ugh.
So
I need to understand this. What's going on here, Rads?
yeah, so it's really interesting because
Yeah.
we know this is known as black tax, right? Not only you suffer from it, but
Yeah.
every Kenyan, whoever has left the village
Okay.
and been successful. So that's not just village meaning coming to Nairobi, even
Yeah.
going to the States,
Okay.
the UK, anywhere abroad. It is almost the obligation. There's an obligation you feel, and that's why I was asking you.
Yeah.
Again, I've never understood this feeling of obligation to help Dusties, right? It doesn't make sense. You can give people jobs, you can help them by, maybe paying for their, certification. And then once they, start working, they pay back. I mean, this is just normal business trade. You help people by giving them opportunities. But this idea of black tax is insane to me.
Why? Why did you do it?
Yes.
It's because you're emotionally designed as a human to want to
Okay.
help people.
Yes.
And when you start hearing stories that have play on the strings of your heart, you will very likely give money away.
Yeah, you
No, I'm not very likely to do anything that in the long run puts me in a dangerous position. Right? This is why I don't get it. Maybe for these kinds of human beings, this is a big issue for them, specifically Africans, right? But the reality is that no, you don't need to pay any tax, right? You guys choose to do it. And to be honest, I don't really relate with that idea of needing to help people. If it's your parents, fair enough, right? They raised you, they gave you life and all that kind of stuff. Apart from that, I just don't see it.
mentioned kids. I'm done. Like,
Yeah.
okay, what is it? Let's
Especially
solve
school.
it.
For me, it's actually
Yeah.
school fees. Like if
Okay.
someone's like, please, I can't meet their education.
Yeah.
I will say, okay, I don't have this money, but I'm going to go into my savings and give it to you.
Okay.
Because educating someone is the best skill you can give them.
You heard that. You heard that, right? The sis it thinks it's okay to go into her own savings, right? Well, what are savings? Savings is emergency money that can help you out of your emergency, so you don't put yourself as a burden to other people. If she thinks that's normal to go into your savings, again, she's not referring to like, oh, a big huge chunk of savings which she's going to invest in some companies or herself in the future. She's probably talking about pennies that she's set aside, maybe $2,000, right? That's most likely what she's referring to. She gives that away to pay some kids education and fees. Do you think these people are going to be grateful? Most of the times, no. That's how human nature is, right? Most of the time, no. They're not going to be grateful, right? They're not going to go add value back to you. And that's part of the problem. It's a lack of not really seeing how things work and operate in the real world.
All right.
So it's about playing on emotional strings. And you
Right.
know what? As humans, we want to give. But really, how do we manage black tax? You digged into your savings, and should anything happen to you in the next 3 to 6 months, you don't want to be the guy asking for black tax.
Yeah, I don't want to call you Rads. Hey,
Yeah, and that can happen.
send me
because-
some money, Rads.
yeah, and
yeah.
you know, this thing happens so often
Yeah.
that people forget how to manage their own money, and they're just, giving money away, and then say something happens, they're like, oh no, I have no money. So yeah.
So you've mentioned something interesting, black tax. So I've just decided to use the power of Google.
Yes.
So I'm on Wikipedia.
Yep.
Can I read out this definition?
Oh no, it's really cringe when people say things like power of Google or things like that. It's I don't know. Low.
Please do.
This takes me back to school. I've not read out something aloud in a very long time. Black
Well,
tax is a term that originated in South Africa for money that black or other person of color, as
Yes.
you mentioned, professionals provide to their family every month outside their own living expenses, usually out of obligation.
Interesting.
All right, that was keyword you mentioned.
Yeah.
It is caused by continued economic imbalance that can be traced back to apartheid. Okay, this is for the South African case, but we have all our own causes in different countries. It can be described as Ubuntu, but with an incapacitating twist for black professionals. All
Wow.
right, that's a definition.
Yep. And this is why I keep saying, that there's some things that just don't make sense. For example, this whole Ubuntu or this whole African communalism spirit. I'm not for it. Right? I'm just not for it. There's no way you can convince me to be part of a culture that is parasitic in nature. Right? It's like Ouroboros, a snake eating its own tail. Instead of the snake, growing, right? What happens is, the tail end is the dusty end, and it's there. Yeah, she's Kenyan, but she's Indian Kenyan. The snake goes around eating its own tail and it removes itself from existence, right? Because that's what happens in these cases. To me, again, I don't want to be part of any communalist spirits, right? I'm a capitalist through and through.
Sure.
But also, you'll find that
Yeah.
a lot of firstborn children
Yeah.
feel this burden
Okay.
to support their families back home.
All right.
And the reality is that, you know, our parents work really hard. They give us the education, and then you go on and you join these incredible jobs.
Yes.
But as a firstborn or a child that comes from very little money,
Yeah.
they're naturally obliged to support the family member back home.
Okay.
And sometimes it's unfair because the oldest one didn't choose to be born first,
Okay,
but they
yeah,
have a lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
pressure.
Again, it's kind of interesting, right? It's you know, I could summarize this whole stream and just say, the black tax or Ubuntu, all these concepts, right? These are parasitic concepts that unfortunately hinder the development of young African people because it tugs on the very nature of what it means to be African. In this case, having communalism, approaching life in a communalistic manner, right? That's unfortunately all I'm seeing here, right? Communalism seems to be the problem here because someone like me who is not part of the communalism's culture, it's not my fault, right? People, now here's the thing. I can help specific kinds of people and I can be helped by specific kinds of people, right? Everyone needs something at some point in time. And I'm not against that, right? Obviously. And I would be stupid if I was. So it's not really the issue. The issue is it's unreciprocable. It's not as if that person, when they have reached a certain life stance, or they're going to give back, or they're going to be grateful and help you out in a different way. No, that doesn't really happen, right? You can't rely on it. I'm sure one or two people do it, but it's not a reliable thing that actually occurs majority of the time. So black tax really ends up just being a way for you to just be used by people from the village. I'll give you a very basic example here, right? Now, the average African or Black American, or you know, people from abroad, they work extremely hard, right? Very, very hard and difficult work. That's the reality. They put in hours, they put in days, they put in weeks, etc. Sometimes they have 2 or 3 jobs, at least 2 jobs most of the time, but sometimes 3 jobs just to cover rent, take care of their wife, their kids, etc. Like immediate family. Now, of course, you have the African back at home in Lagos, in Nairobi. Now, we're not saying that their life is easy. They don't have cash flow. That's true. They don't have a lot of cash flow. But it's not just that. They don't typically pay rent. They have somewhere to sleep. So these people sitting around most of the time are expecting you to send them money that you've, again, toiled. And to me, that's where there is an emotional adverse reaction to all these Ubuntu spirit and black tax, because to me it reminds me of a culture that is actually backwards, right? People are using this whole, oh, this is African culture, in order to basically use you and subject you into slavery. So to me, I have an adverse reaction to it because it feels wrong. However, I wouldn't do it regardless unless it benefited me long term.
Pressures of making sure their parents are okay.
Yes.
In our Indian culture, actually, it's very common. The eldest son is meant to live with the parents, and they do a lot of the heavy lifting, not financially, but just more relationshiply wise. So it
Right.
kind of spreads over different cultures in different ways.
Yeah.
But traditionally, in the context of black tax, it is the firstborn that bears a lot of the pressure of actually making sure to provide for their parents in retirement.
All right. So
But-
the first one turns out to be like a retirement plan.
Literally, I was just
Yeah.
going to say that. So
Yeah.
imagine if you helped your parents understand at a young age, or if they were taught financial planning when they were working,
Yeah.
they wouldn't be a burden because they would have money that they saved up for their retirement,
Okay.
which allows you not to pay black tax, and you can make better financial decisions preparing for your family in your retirement.
Correct.
So
Yes.
it's almost like a
Yeah, one man says, you have Indian overloads in Kenya. I never knew. I don't know, man. This idea that there's Indian overloads, it's an outdated thing, because you know there's some Indians here and they do succeed higher than the average Kenyan because they practice group economics. That's really it, right? So, for example, Indians invested earlier onwards into specific industries. Um, that they obviously ruled. I'll give you an example, like Aga Khan Medical Center or University has a lot of Indian or Indian related stock basically owners, right? Shareholders in the company, family run, right? So there's a lot of Indian based companies that popped up early onwards, right? So they have dominated certain specific fields, and because they practice group economics, Indian people usually obviously then trickle down all that money, all the wealth, right? All the milo into their own communities. So someone will go send their kid to a university in the UK, they'll come back, they'll take over the business, etc. And there's many good reasons why they do this, right? Trusting the typical black Kenyan to in business with you, most likely they'll scam you and then they'll ruin your business. So when it comes to accounting, money, and related, you don't typically see India. So when it comes to money, economics, and finance, right, related jobs, you will not see a black African in an Indian company, handling the finances. They just don't. They know why, right? They steal, etc. So yeah, I'm just answering that question about the so-called Indian overlords. There is none, but yes, they do have monopolies over a few, right? Few industries. Medicine is one of them. They used to also have it in pharmaceutical industry, and also like automobile, certain kind of industries like that. Specific cars from specific countries. What's good? What's good? Hopefully your internet is good now. You're no longer in Africa.
Hey, how do I sound?
Yeah, it sounds good.
Oh yeah. So a nice stream, last stream. However, I just wanted to comment on this is a light. I like the dynamic between the Indian overlord and this Dusty Kenyan here. Look how he's looking up to her. Anyways, first of all, I think that the people whom, in other words, I don't take away the responsibility from the giver. And I think that it is very uncouth to give something and then come and blame the beggar. And the reason I use beggar is I try to put it in the lowest terms, right? That even if it was a beggar or whatever, you either do or you don't. But when you do, it is very uncouth to complain about how you got trapped by your feelings. Your relationship between your feelings and your actions are 100% your responsibility. You could talk about blame mechanics and it's this person's fault, it's their fault, but obviously it's 100% your responsibility. You control your actions. They're not responsible for your assumptions, all those kinds of things. But after you do what you've done, you don't go blaming the people. Like, oh, I spent so much money. And oh, really? Like, were you robbed? Like, come on. So regardless of the answer that you use, right? Whether you talked about separating yourself from the culture or you just practice discernment or you learn how to say no, whatever that failing is your failing. And to blame people for extorting you, I think is uncouth.
I generally agree, especially because this is a Luo man. You can tell by his head shape, but Luo men, I can just add in context here for everyone listening. They tend to like to show off, so they like it's a real thing, guys. In case you think I'm being tribalist or whatever, these tribes and cultures really do have like specific behavioral patterns. So for a lot of Luo men, they like to be seen as the big man, right? Like in Kenya speaking, they spend a lot of money on
Exactly.
women.
Now, this is beautiful that you went there because the face of the coin that I wanted to mention first was this aspect, which is these MFers are getting all, come on, it's a give and take here. They're out there being the big man. They like fucking being the big man. That's why they went to the freaking village, okay, acting as if they don't know they're gonna get 75 uncles and 16 nieces and whatnot. Get the hell out of here, And then after you do it, coming back and complaining about it is just like, we see the whole thing, dude.
Exactly. So it's kind of interesting that this isn't even a typical case of, black tag, some dusty person there who's it's actually it's a big man problem. But yeah, shout out, I got a new panelist. What's good, chitlins and grits. Low.
Hey, how you guys doing? Welcome back home, Ike. I know you love that weather there in San Francisco. That
I
nice.
this I notice this about Chitlins and Grits. Like he's always trying to get me to claim
That's
Oakland
who
or
you.
something
That's
like.
who. That's
Name
who
there.
you are, bro. You grew up most of your life in Oakland.
Most of my life.
Most,
Oh,
well, at
well,
least half your life in Oakland, I'm assuming. And
okay, all right. Well,
the way you
LA gets no
dress,
love.
whatever you dress, your swag is definitely, typically Oakland.
All right.
There's no way getting around that.
Shalom.
He know I'm right. He know exactly I'm right. But what is the conversation between the Indian girl and Lao person, Queso?
Yes. Okay. Great question. So I'll start by reiterating the discussion topic. Black tax. Africans and poor Black Americans beg your money and live while they're living better than you. So you're obviously a Black American, as far as we know. You've also kind of married into slightly different cultures. Have you ever had like a wife, ex-wife?
I wouldn't consider my. Here's the thing. you always throw. I mean, you have to be in the United States to understand these things. The first culture I married to was a different culture. The second culture that I married to is slightly different, but it's still aspect of my culture. If you understand that, if you understand my drift there. Even though it's in a different part of the country, which was Louisiana, or parts of, or what is the French territory. It wasn't only just Louisiana. We learned it was also part of even as far far places like Mississippi and stuff like that. If you go to I forgot what that city is in Mississippi was. To the capital of Mississippi is pretty much the same setup like New Orleans in some respects. So so aspect of that culture that I am with is an extension of the culture that I am. If you get my drift.
Okay, I get it. I get it. Yeah, Chillins was married twice. His first wife left him because it was too small. But yeah, that's very very interesting. Okay, so yeah, you see, he didn't deny it, right? So it means I'm right, Audrey. So Chillins, the
No,
question.
I just ignored that statement right there because I think it's ridiculous and redundant. But
Right.
you know, this black tax stuff. I mean, what are you talking about? I'm trying to get your drift here.
Okay, so
And one thing I have to make a statement when someone said about Kenya. I don't. With me, I can't judge Kenya because I don't know the nuances of your society. Just going to the airport and going to Nairobi for a couple of nights due to plane transfers, I can't make a definitive statement about the Kenyan society without spending enough time in the environment. I could say in Fiji, the Indians know their place. They do have, I would say, the majority of the professions, but the Fijians own the land and the property.
Brian, let me answer your question. Your question, if I may. We have a new panelist. Can you mute? Are you in the airplane? Oh yeah, it's Dusty Zulia. I should have known. So basically, the conversation, right? Were you listening to it, or are you genuinely asking for Kaizo to give you like a breakdown, or
Yeah, really breakdown because I don't, I
yeah,
see a
okay.
lot
So
of
let me fill you in as the resident man from the town, and Kaizo and his Dusty Kenyanness will not be able to translate, right? Since I'm so Oakland and whatnot. Now, basically, regarding you having to spend time there, yes, we get it, but gather from your general experience and try to see if you can at least get the picture here. Here's this guy. He's successful. People know that he's successful. Okay. He goes to his village. He doesn't go to, for example, some farm spot somewhere where people don't really know you. For example, I just came back from Ghana, right? I had the best time off in the forest, in the river, Obaya River, in this dude, one of the workers at my farm, right? At his house with his wife uprooting stuff and you know basically harvesting fresh yams and this and that, blah, 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 right? Nobody knew me there, right? I didn't feel like I had to, blah, blah, feel like, oh, I was obligated to something. But you go to a place, right? This successful man, getting back to that story, he goes to a place not like that, but to his particular village. And then he's talking about all the different uncles, aunties, nieces, nephew who come and say, oh, I just came to greet you. Me and your mother, we go very, way back, all that kind of stuff, right? And then he's him feeling obligated to give. Okay. Now, what are your thoughts about that whole situation vis-a-vis him coming and then talking about it as though it was some kind of extortion?
Oh, I got you. I got you. I feel you. It's kind of funny though, because whenever people or have money, and it's a sad testimony of humanity, you're gonna like give you a perfect example, like, and as you know, with this goes on in the United States, it like a lottery person win a lottery, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Suddenly, as you know, you've seen the countless testimonies, everybody and a mama, and you're going to have relatives in the woodworks looking for you and trying to get with your good graces since they know you have all this money. And I think that's a similar case which is happening with that Lao guy in that village. He has the money, and people, unfortunately, are attracted to that, and they want to get in your good graces.
So you, Brian, right? So you transport yourself to that scene. You Do you blame these people? Can't you control yourself, Brian? Don't you know how to say no? You're in sales, generally speaking, right? So you know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about, which is
Yeah.
that human to human interaction is a transaction that you have to take responsibility for. Otherwise, what the hell, right? Because it's like saying, oh, Brian tricked me into buying that house or all that kind of BS, right?
Mhm.
No, you learn to say no. You learn to understand things. You learn to put terms to situations. Otherwise, what the hell is it? It's like, oh, they pulled on my heartstrings. Well, are you a man or just some BAN? Well, so you in that situation, Brian, how do you regulate this? How do you kind of keep certain distance and certain people that, oh, I'll give this person anything, but this other one's maybe whatever. I stay in this particular gated community, or like I was mentioned, when I go to a village, I don't go to a village where everybody knows me, and then to be the big man where I built a freaking massive house in the middle of all their squalor and all that kind of crap, and then expect not to be bothered or whatever. And then when I get bothered, start acting as though, oh my God, I'm just a poor little puppy. They took advantage of me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Damn. I have a tendency of putting people to the curb. If I sense something that's not really, it's like this. I'm with the same circle of people when I didn't have anything, and I'm with the same circle of people when I did have something. And I know people who are genuine and people who are not. And people who are not genuine, including some of my relatives, I'll just put them on the curb. They will get no type of action from me versus people who've been there with me throughout my life and not when I became suddenly successful.
Okay, so that's a good point, and we'll let Zulia come through as well. My perspective here is I can everyone listening here is sometimes they actually try this. They try this on me, right? They try to give you a name. They try to give you a title, right? They're like what they used to call at one point I was known as David, right? It's irrelevant why, but so in one neighborhood I was known as David. So he was like Davy ni. They used to say things like Davy ni generous. That means David is generous. And when they say that, right now I was generous a few times, but it's not because they're trying to, truly, hey, this guy's pretty generous, he's a good guy, leave it there. No, they'll give you titles and they want to see if they're playing games with you as well. So they're giving you a title. It's a big man title, right? It's like they'll call you generous because now that this title that you're wearing, and for you to keep getting that social FE, what we call FE, extroverted feeling, sort of play, you feel sort of like having to participate in. Obviously, I'm when I say you, it's a proverbial you. It's not talking about myself. Yeah, so the you feels like actually maintaining that title. So it's quite interesting how that whole game plays. They give you a title, when some people feel
Shut up,
like
Kaizo. Let Julio speak. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But the thing about and then you can and then let Zulia. Shout out to you, Dusty Zulia. Um, Becoming a big man, let's say that whole big man thing that they're trying to play, right? Or the title that they place upon you, and so on and so forth. It's almost like a test, and these people don't necessarily are not. Look, it is your responsibility to regulate and rule them the way you would regulate and rule any kind of organization of or people that have just come to you and say, "Hey, lead me," right? If these people that come to you and say, "Hey, lead me," exploit you, that's your complete problem. Now this area of regulation, which is quite different from I create this department, I pay this person this, and I do that, right? That kind of a already prescribed structure to you. This type of regulation is the regulation of extroverted feeling, right? The regulation of group harmony and such and such and such. It is up to you to regulate that space if you want to the degree to which you're going to participate in this, right? So people should know the order and know their place and not expect things from you and so on and so forth. After all, you are the big, right? So if you then see that you're deficient in this particular area, it's on you to grow, right? If at all you're trying to achieve success as opposed to just getting material crap, right? If you're trying to be this crazy philosopher king and successful person, whatever, and getting accolades from people, you need to learn how to regulate them as well in this place that is more of an emotional transaction, a persona transaction, a leadership transaction that is not based on, shall we say, purely economic agency and principle, right? That employer-employee type thing, right? But anyways, I'll shut up. Shout out to you.
go ahead, Zulia. The floor is yours. What have you heard so far in the conversation? What you want to add or take away?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I'll make this brief. Just reading two articles, one about Europe's need for migrants economically, and also the need to have strong borders, and then the whole Israel Hamas thing. I need to read about that. But yeah, basically, to be honest, man, I think a lot of it is survivorship bias, or was it survivorship guilt, survivor's guilt. A lot of these people, I'm sure, including my mother, felt a degree of guilt that they got to escape the dust for a period of time and enjoy a much higher quality of life and infrastructure and disposable income that is unimaginable to the majority of people in her homeland. So, I think there's a lot of guilt in there. I feel that I don't give them much. I do, and it's ended up badly each time. They become overly reliant on you. Instead of, I remember 15 years ago, I said to the family, why don't you think about a business proposal? You know the local area better than my mom does, obviously better than me. Why don't you come forth with a business idea, something to get going? And instead of just asking for handouts, my mom could give money to get things going, right? I was only about 15 at the time, and nothing was done. I said, what happens if she falls ill? What happens if she dies? What happens then? And these are just basic long-term thinking, contingency planning. They just won't do it, And it's come to the point now that they don't have any appreciation about your own struggles in these rich countries, the expenses that you have, the cost of living, the racism, the hyper competitiveness to get good paying jobs, your desire to start your own family. None of that matters to them. How could you
Zulia,
help me because you're rich?
Can I add something here? So shout out to you for the perspective from a diaspora and middle class sort of family circumstance and how that relates itself to an African culture. So here's part of the issue there. Let's say from specifically, let's say your mom's perspective is this, right? And also Ike and Chitlins, you guys can chip in here too. But basically, one of the issues here is this, right? And maybe this is more East African culture, right? And you guys can correct me on other regions if it's different, but East Africans don't know how to tell each other no. They don't know how to be straightforward and be like, okay, hey, you can stay here for like 3 days, but after that you have to find somewhere else. As a simple example, they're not very straightforward. So in other ways, what I'm trying to say is this, Ike, you can't eat in East Africa. It's not as if you can even give them a job that adds value to you, reduces stress to you, and then you pay them for that job. So and a simple example is this. Let's say my mom has a school She needs someone, one of our family members, who's relatively, competent enough to go and oversee the school or the financial transactions or this or that. It's not like you can give them a job and they'll do it correctly. They'll still if you give them the job, they will scam you from that job. So their presence in that job basically is meaningless because you want. Okay, I guess what I'm
May
trying to
I
say is this:
just interject one before you
for
just to
correct.
clarify?
But
So if you're talking about, okay, this is the thing regarding the particularity of the East African culture, right? That is a little bit different, a little bit more all encompassing and whatnot. Then I would have to say, okay, cool. You're saying that this is the ecosystem there, and unless you're saying that this is just a bad ecosystem, then there must be a mutual benefit to all, with the exception of maybe a change, maybe recent change in circumstances. Maybe it's colonization and cities and whatever has made it such that this kind of communal living is no longer tenable, right? Because all the too much pressure on certain spots, because maybe the scaffolding and means of regulation, the kind of regulation I was talking about earlier, which perhaps were more communal and kind of in the systems of relating to each other within those societies. Maybe those things are broken down, and now you can't have all of a sudden they expect everybody to be philosopher kings, as I kind of said tongue in cheek earlier. So for the regular normie now, is it the case, and this is kind of like the question, that A, this is the culture, and therefore was a good thing because everybody was benefiting,
correct.
so we had a different landscape, and now something has changed, and I just gave an example of what may have changed, but I don't know.
Yes. So yeah, 100%. So for the normie African, and then we'll let Chitlins respond. For the normie Kenyan, right? This is a good thing because mostly they don't, as Zulia mentioned, people here don't plan for the future. Like it's not a real thing. They might the most they plan for the future is events that are culturally continuous. Hey, buying a house, for example, buying land, right? These are the only things which they might want to do because it's part of the culture, so it's ingrained, right? To them, it's not even a future. This is part of being or living. But in general, they don't plan for the future. They don't plan and say to myself, I know for a fact people get sick, and I should probably put some money aside for the fact people get sick so that I'm not a burden to anybody else. They don't think like that. They don't want to think like that. So this culture, this Ubuntu, as they call it, the Ubuntu spirit, right? The spirit of communalism benefits the Dusties because they all become burdens on each other. The issue is when one of them now leaves that nest and starts doing better
Are
than
you
some of
saying
them.
that the culture has always been kind of negative, when compared to, because it's always been the case that because any kind of communal kind of thing will definitely benefit the least or the average person, and the demands will be on the higher and more capable people, generally speaking, right?
Communism
In
is almost
any,
like a form of communism in a way. It's interesting that
yeah. So other than that, because what I'm saying is, okay, if you have this natural, quote unquote, West African community and their tribes, and it must have been a good thing for everybody, right?
Yeah,
Um,
tribalism. Like when
so
during the
what
day,
has changed now that is making it like, oh, different? I just talked about modernity, cities, this and that. Is it that just basic? Is it that that same issue?
individualism breeding in from city life and cash flow. Yeah. So individualism. So the ability for you now to own your own spot. You're no longer, forced into this, the cultural rituals and practices. You now live in Nairobi. You now work and earn, I don't know, $1,000 a month. They have cash flow, right? They got the cows and the whatever maize and stuff. So right, yeah, it's modernity. Yes, modernity is a big change to things, which changes the culture. So you're no longer tied to that communalism. So basically, you're not benefiting from their culture, yet they're benefiting from you. So it's basically it's a break in it's if you put a valve like a single direction valve inside a pipe, that's more or less it's happening. Water flows in one direction and not both direction.
Yeah, material water in one direction, and then all that the other people, the providers get their ego stroked. And generally speaking, back in the past and in the
Oh yeah,
community where
and yes, correct.
uh, when you were kind of, let's say, you're the big man in the village, not just the big man, but the regular bourgeoisie striver, middle class, such and such and such. you actually did not have to give as much, and you didn't actually have to have as much either per se, in order to get that sense of that feeling that you are something. Because that's what it's not like it's the gold cufflinks that makes you something. It's the fact that other people see the gold cufflinks and there is a story about gold and cufflinks and shit, right? So you can get that whole package without actually having to get something which would be the equivalent of gold in that kind of sense. Like, so when you're embedded in that community, and even because your grandfather was wealthy, let's say, you'll still be given a kind of a respect, even though now maybe you're just a dusty trader or whatever. So there was a lot of that, right, to be reaped from in that culture, right? So it wasn't just like, it's just like a crazy, non-symbiotic, completely parasitic situation, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so chitlins. So now that you've seen the background, do you have any similar experiences in America?
No, I mean, I
Where
would. Oh, go ahead, Queso. Finish your statement.
No, go ahead.
No, finish your statement. Tell me. You
Yeah,
said
so did you have like similar experiences in America where there's leeches of specific family members, whether it's spousal or your own brothers, sisters, etc.?
Oh, that's a pretty good question. Very, very good question. You know, for me, as far as my parents' generation and stuff like that, which is totally different from my generation. What I mean by this is, where did I go? They went through something called the Great Migration,
Hmm.
where a lot of African Americans, in particularly in the South, moved, from north to west parts of the United States. Um, Depending on your family back then, since the northern cities and the western cities, if you're coming from it, it was mostly African Americans from the Carolinas, Virginia, maybe Alabama, whatnot. They went to like places like the Northeast, like in New York and Philly and all that. African Americans from Mississippi went to Chicago. African Americans who lived in what is now called New Orleans, in Texas and Arkansas, a lot of them went to the West Coast cities, like in California. So you had three different paths of different migrations leaving the South and headed to the more industrialized areas. And, my mother's family came from the farms. And to be perfectly honest with you, even though they didn't have running water or the electricity that we have now, they were contained and happy. But when they seen other people coming from the Northeast with these fancy clothes and these cars and stuff like that, of course they're gonna want a piece of action. Some of those people who didn't come from farm families like mine's family came from, needed those remittances coming from the north and the west. So they were probably like leeches to their family, or those group of people. Um, whenever going back to what you were saying, whenever you have more than others, or people know that you have more, you're going to get leeches. That's pretty much comes with the territory. You're going to have people who are going to want to be your friends, all of a sudden. You're going to have women, unfortunately, some women, who are going to like you due to the fact as far as the wealth you had. I mean, before you were that not good looking kid, or that nerdy
Back
kid.
then, hoes
And then
didn't want me. Now I'm hot. Hoes are, I said.
Exactly, like exactly. And it's a sad testimony of humanity. But it's interesting enough, that I learned a thing or two about Fijian society, and how okay, in Fiji, the Indians who had the business, but the Fijians own the land. However, whenever a Fijian person, let's say, opening up a shop or a business, and this is what I learned from Fijians, there's a term that they use called curry, 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 where if the Fijian village member wanted something from their shop, they're able to get it for free without paying, because you're taking care of their village member. Some Fijians you memonize this now, as far as that they do have a fiend business. They'll have an Indian front man to run the shop while they're behind the scenes running everything, to prevent that type of system, as far as the whole villages wanting stuff for free.
Okay, interesting. So chillins, yeah, that's an interesting thing there. But it looks like you guys didn't have an overt black tax like we do in Africa. I think yours was a bit different. Like the ones maybe that I've seen people have is maybe the fear of doing better than other people that leads people to not want to leave the hood, for example. So I think in your case, you didn't really grow up in the hood, did you?
How did you know?
We knows how hoodlums sound like. You don't really sound like a hoodlum that much, to be honest, right? You sound like
No,
a
but
world
not
of
everybody. I give you a good example. Not everybody in the hood have that mentality. It all has a lot to do with your family upbringing. Like, for example, I had cousins who grew up in one of the worst areas in Brooklyn. And they were a family of 9, but they were a nuclear family. And they also, their father had like a little store. But having said that, they all became successful. Most of them, I would say. And they have the similar mentality like I do. I use more profanity than they do. And it's kind of funny though, because one of my friends who died about a year ago, he didn't know that me and this one person were cousins. And when they mentioned about me living or talking, my cousin was talking about going to the West Coast, and then the other guy who's my friend who I grew up with, he was saying, I have a buddy from the next coast, and his name is Brian. And then he had a cousin named, well, I'm gonna say Brian on here, but they say something else. I have a cousin named Brian. And they put two together. Then, my buddy took two together, and he realized how similar our personalities are the same, because we came from the same family.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Fair enough. So I've got a question now for Ike, right? Like, so with this whole black tax stuff, right? So you obviously embrace the big man sometimes you reject it, you go back into your corner. So I guess you play the game when it's in a way that suits you. So you're well aware of the game, obviously, right? Let's say you go out here, you give some fast super chat, some dusties, you play, you play your game how you play it, right? In Ghana, in America, etc., etc. So I think the issue here is then, Ike, it's a lack of self-awareness coming in from a lot of these people that play in this game. Either you reject it or you play it, but don't go around blaming other people for the fact that they wanted money from you, and you present yourself as someone with that money.
So the first thing that the lady said, let's go back to the actual content, right? Because but the first thing that she said, and I could read her vibes, right? And she's basically saying, dude, give if you're gonna give, don't give and then come sulk. Meanwhile, humble bragging, blah 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 blah. In other words, she was like, okay, so you felt emotionally compelled. I think she said emotionally, whatever. In other words, it's your goddamn emotions. You did it. What the hell are you talking about? And you will probably be one of those Dusties showing up to the person's house, or thinking that you probably would be one of the ones thinking that you deserve it somehow, because, after all, you're not as dusty as the other Dusties who were asking for money, right? So, yes, 100%. But you see, the first thing that she said of how, like, basically asking, well, what happened? Did they rob you? That was the vibe that I got from her, right? So she's probably like a high IQ TE person, and all this FE is like, she's like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, she did say, like, so you were emotional. Yeah, she's trying to gauge the exactness, right? The moment where there was threat. She was basically trying to figure out the facts surrounding the guy, the Luo guy. Because again, like I mentioned, Luo culture.
How now you talking about people in Americas go by looks. Now look at Queso. He looked like a luau. Just saying, Ike.
What's the what is there some kind of discrepancy regarding Kaizo's true Oromo-ness or Luo or whatever?
No, because I
Um,
remember you said everybody in America's, always concerned about appearances, and I'm just pointing the finger at you, both of you guys, right now, just playing with you.
well, I don't mind being pointed at, but I don't know what I did regarding looks. I thought I was talking about
No. This was like way back, a couple of
oh,
about 3 weeks ago or something, 4 weeks ago or something like that. You made a comment on the comment section.
oh yeah. Of course, my comment section. 60% of the time, I'm going just. I'm going.
My last name is actually Luo, right? So you know my last name, Ike. The other one, the one with the that is actually Luo. So I'm being exposed out here. I'm being exposed. That's why I'm spending all my money tricking on some Somalis.
Black tax, yay, it's great. You're helping your family members, but there are other ways you can help your family members, and I'll talk about it a little bit more.
Yep, Ike, you're right. She seems like a grounded Lol Caesar. Definitely look, yes, I am that, right? But it is what it is. It is what it is.
Later on.
Black tax, the way I hear it from you, is very pervasive. Many people are encountering this, whether they're vocalizing like myself or they're suffering in silence. I think there are many stories here.
Bro, this guy is disgusting, as you said, Ike. Suffering in silence, vocalizing. Yeah, and you're the one going to that village. Like, no one forced you to step a foot in, your dusty foot into that village. Like I said, you could have gone to a random village where nobody knows you. You pay someone in a nice villa. They have them. Like, I was there, Makuti Villa, as an example, in Kilifi, the place where I showed when I was live streaming that time in the coast. Beautiful, nice, doesn't cost you that much for a night, $100 or so, and no one's gonna disturb you, etc. But you decide to go to your village. Exactly.
That can actually
Yeah,
be shared.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna
Go ahead, Ike.
So I wanted to just kind of do some psychological commentary here, as someone who already kind of recognized the girl right from the onset, like from the first words she said, as I mentioned, right? It was just like, oh, I know I know who she is, and then I'm like, oh, I know. It's basically a TEFE encounter, and she's already disgusted by the time he's saying these things about suffering in silence, and she recognizes that, right, as she is all her life, because the way people are is the way they are, right? So all her life, she's always seen people talk about, like, as though the only way to get yourself out of a situation is to go talk about it with other people, right? So you can't just decide to regulate how, in other words, that term suffering in silence is a great kind of extroverted feeling marker, right? As though, okay, it's either I'm in silence and I'm suffering. In other words, I cannot, as a unit, come up with a solution, or I got to talk about it, and rather than fix it, complain about it to other people, somehow shame the people whom are begging me away, right? These silly FE tactics, so inefficient and quite gross to hear from a man. That's everything that's going through her body right now. She feels like throwing up.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think you're right. Obviously you had really good analysis from the beginning. The guy, the guy gets worse and worse as we go along. As I mentioned, right? So there was a place where I used to live, right? It's called South B. It's actually my family's, whatever, has a house there in one of the estates there, the oldest estate there. But now I used to live there. I decided to make a couple friends. I had a couple Somali friends and one Fulani and a couple Luo friends. And look, at some point, I think I knew about this story, right? I decided to drink with them sometimes. I buy them, like a quarter. A quarter is like a quart. It's like 250 milliliters of like hard liquor. They mix it with whatever it is they want to mix it with for fun. Because guess what? I was there. I was new for a month. I was just spending money and just having so-called fun. Then obviously in African culture, right? And I think this is more true in African, or rather communalist cultures, than it is in other cultures. They now believed that's my spirit, right? They put titles on you, as I stated, right? Kaizo is like this, right? Or rather, at that point, they call me David, right? So David is like this, and I was like, no, I'm not. For this one particular month, I decided to do this. But then I realized they kept knocking at my door every day, trying to hang out with me and this. I'm like, I can't, I'm working, all that stuff. So I had to leave in the end, right? But one thing I noticed, the moment where I noticed, right, because I was giving one of the girls a job, right? She was supposed to work for me for my YouTube channel and stuff. When she approached me, she's like,
what kind of job were you giving her?
No, not a manual job.
Oh, you
It was
V job, V job,
porn.
double T
not
job.
manual, not manual, no hand job, no, yeah, nothing manual, right? It was digital, like YouTube stuff, right? So when she told me, she was like, "Oh yeah, this Fulani guy reached out to me and said, David, you're really generous." I was like, no. At that moment, I blocked her, right, and I blocked all of them, and I moved out. Like, you're not gonna call me the big man, and they used to call me Biggie, right? But you're not gonna call me a big man and expect me to live to that role, right? I am not a big man. I was a big man for that 1 month, and that's it. So that's the other thing. You have to reject these titles if you want. You don't just go around complaining like this guy. I left the area and I rejected the title. But yeah, we got a couple new panelists. What's good, Dusties. We got Caesar and as well as Ola. Let's get it. Go ahead, Caesar.
Can you guys hear me?
No, we can't hear you.
Can't hear
Great.
your dusty internet in Washington D.C.
Yeah, Kaiser, when you share that story about people giving you this title and kind of expecting you to live to it, I had this experience. I had this limited experience when I was in Nigeria. People giving me titles, and I'm like, relax. I don't have money. Like, take it easy. At first, I thought it was comical, but then I rejected the title, because that's what I noticed. I realized it's this kind of thing where they give you this title, you're a big man at your young age because they want you to give up cash. However, I don't take it as malicious because, again, these are people that are not really employed. They're looking for money. So, hey, this guy has money. If title is what this guy wants in order to give us the money, let's give it to him. Because, a lot of people spend a lot of money to get a title. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about this title thing like it's not a big deal. People spend a lot of money to get titles in Africa. A lot of money. But the thing is, look, they don't have jobs. So if they want to give you the title because they think it's going to get them employment, I get it. But many times they don't have the skills that you don't even have skills that you could find useful, right? So that title is meaningless and actually hurts you in the end. So I don't think it's malicious. Hey, what do you do when you don't have a job? You don't have any money. You find a guy who has money. Hey, he's a big man. What's the big deal, right? It's up to you as the quote unquote big man to accept or reject that title or figure out how to use it in your to make it advantageous for you. So yeah.
Ola.
Carlo, I just came. You talk about Africa tax and all this. Is it that people that give money to their family? Carlo,
Shout out to you, Ola. We got a couple new panelists right now. I don't know, Mike.
is it people?
Summarize. Yeah, one
Is it-
second.
Oh yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, okay, Kaiser, yeah, chill. You can mute. Yeah, so Ola. So you're asking, right?
Yeah.
Basically, what the topic is and what these people have discussed, right?
Yeah.
I'll just give maybe like a 2 or 3 point summary. So the guy on the left, whom is the dark-skinned Kenyan gentleman, he's talking about going to his village, and then people heard that he was around, and then he was getting knocks on the gate every hour or whatever, right? So this uncle, that auntie, this niece, oh, me and your mom, me and your mother, yeah, we spent 10 years in Nsukka, whatever, the stories, right? All those things, blah blah blah.
I got
And
you.
then him feeling obligated, quote unquote, to give, and then now talking about it. And then here is a little bit of a couple of sentences of my particular twist. I just think that if he did, then he should shut up about it, right? Or he got something out of it, or he likes being seen as the big man. Either way, if you've decided they did not exploit you, if you decide to do something, don't come and be talking about it later.
Thank
That's
you
just
very
doubly
much,
bad.
Greg. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
I think, I think we Africans, we have this, we celebrate, we have this fun of say, I give that money to poor people, I give that money to this, I give that money to that, and especially those that have. Always have because you have maybe a good business or a good job in the city or abroad, so it's coming to share money and feel big and everything. You don't have to say it because you are right. They did actually force him to do it. He did it out of his own will. You understand? And the other one is this: is like, you see, Africans, if you start giving money and you refuse to give one day, they will not like you, even inside your own family. So you have to be very careful how you give money, and you have to know those that ever have the money in our culture. We hide their own money. They want to get your money because that's where it go in their mind. So these black tax Africans are paying or black people are paying. It's not obligated that you have to give somebody money. If they say, oh, you eat alone, you die alone, and you think that money you're giving to them will inconvenience you, forget it. Don't give. Die alone. Because especially for those that live overseas who struggle to walk and do everything, sometimes tie their belly up without even having no good clothes. They can't even enjoy their life by going out, eating in restaurants. They go to cheap butcher where they sell cheap meat. I started buying it. Why they sending the money back home for family who just ask for money. Then if you have a video, you have your friend who's very loyal to you, you say, I see your brother enjoying in one restaurant. I see your mother with the latest clothes. I think we should not be a slave to any. I know this topic I'm saying is different from that my own, but I think so. I don't want to be a slave to anybody. Because
I have a question for you. Because I know you spent some time in the United States, mainly in Florida, I believe, right?
No, I've never been. At this point, I visited the United States.
Oh, you never been to the United States?
No.
I thought you went to school.
Can I just come in?
This is
no. Man, I'm in Nigeria. I went to school in Nigeria. I went to University of Benin, one of the best schools in Nigeria called Uniben. You understand me?
Okay, I got you. I thought you stayed in some time in the United States.
No. I visited the United States, LA and Houston. That's just all, bro. But I've been around Europe for a while, for a long time also like that before I left. All my life, but I know what it is to send money back home when you're into these things, and I just cancel giving people money also because I want to also better myself. People I'm giving money to, I'm not seeing the result back. Or when you give money, the day you not give, they'll say, "Who do you help?" You understand? So at this moment, I just change. Only that it get me too late to change my mind. I would have changed my mind when I was in my late 20s to my middle 40s. I just changed when I realized, oh no shit, what have I just been doing since? When I see nothing is changing, how many
I think we should be truthful to ourselves here. You understand? Africans don't force nobody to give the money back home. We do that out of our own willfulness, and we try to make a thing about it.
My brother, you're wrong. We don't.
No.
You're wrong.
I don't know. I don't believe.
You're wrong,
we do that out of our own willfulness. We want. Let me find.
It's not willfulness. The moment you have contact with them,
no, they're not forcing you. You are taking your own money.
They're not forcing you, but you have an emotional attachment to them.
So why do you complain?
Hold on. You have because they're not forcing you, because you have an emotional attachment to them because they are part of your family. And they start coming with problems. First of all, we'll come like I'm sick. They're from sick to say I'm hungry. From hungry to say, oh, I need school.
Tell them you are hungry yourself.
So when you don't give, look, if you live in abroad, your emotion is different for somebody who live in Nigeria.
Bro, Africa. All Africa, except you want to tell me Nigeria is different.
Hold on, people that live
Africans, the people back home, they have the tendency to ask you money.
One voice at a time.
Yeah. People back home, they feel you have money, whatever, they ask you money. And some of us, we think we are in the position to give them that money. They don't force you. I went back home, like even in the family meetings, people who even contribute more are the people in Africa. So these things that black tax, blah, blah, blah. If you didn't borrow money, let me finish all out. Let me finish, please. If you do not borrow money from anyone, maybe to travel or to do certain business, African people don't ask you money. Maybe your family, you might use their own initiative and say, okay, maybe this is my uncle, he's suffering, let me help him. If you don't give, they don't do nothing.
Yeah, my brother, look,
nothing.
You're right. But they don't force you. Look, let's assume you came from a family that doesn't have too much, right? Then you left. Maybe you went to somewhere whereby the currency is bigger than the currency of your own country. You're just like, oh, this is my family. They don't have too much. I'm part of them. Then you just, okay, look, as Martin, you know, just you want to elevate them for their dusty status where they are. Then you want to say, okay, mama, papa, brothers, you go back to school. Mama, take this, take that, you be eating. Then out of the blue, will you start giving maybe $10 before that will be enough for them? They will say, oh no, that $10 is not enough. Now they need $30. You understand me? It's not like they force you, but you see that they don't have it, and you want to help them. Majority of Africans are look, only few Africans, let's say the elite, who travel out and never give money back because their family is already stable. Every African that left the shore of Africa is left to enhance his family, people at home, back to elevate them. Then from there, you now suck into yourself into a way that you will never feel, my brother. Everybody have experienced it. I've experienced it, and I just cut it off.
See, every African, it's normal that people at home, this uncle has died. We need money to go celebrate that. They ask money for stupid things. If you don't have the obligation, don't. People pay this money because they want to show off, okay, I have this status, I have money, I can take care. Listen, I can take care of these people, I can put myself in front of the family and help people. And now they complain. The idea is like they ask. I'm not saying people don't ask.
No, that's what I'm saying. That
you don't owe no one the obligation to give the money.
I will give you an example. Yoruba man who live in US, work for all his life, double shift jobs and everything to help his family back home. What happened? The man died. Then the friend brought the body back to Africa to bury it. Then the friend said, oh, this man was doing double job. He can't even have peace or rest just to help people. No, I'm not the one though. I'm not the one though. He did help me. You see, they deny him when he's gone. So you when you are alive, especially if you're married, these people will destroy your marriage with this African black tax. They will destroy it.
How would they destroy your marriage? How?
Forget that thing, my brother. Forget that thing.
How would they destroy your marriage?
Because they will put stress by saying they're suffering. Look, I don't understand.
I think that you are the one who got the problem. If you cannot control yourself,
he means like he's saying that the wife, for example, will be there forcing you to send money back to her family or the husband, and then this will create tension in that family relationship.
Yes. Thank you, my brother. This will create tension. And then your families continue asking for money. They're dying. They will pet you. They will be praising you. You say, okay, is that a bit? Before you know, you will live in overseas for 20 years. You have no building. You have no house for yourself.
Then who do you have to blame? You or your family?
Look, my brother, you don't know the power of. I don't know the family you come from. The power.
That's the problem. You think power? I don't see any power in that.
The power of emotional connection to your family, my brother, is very deep.
Point. I could only imagine, especially if, let's say, a person from the African continent is married to a person who is not from there. That will probably put extra pressure in the marriage, in the distribution of money to, especially if she's from, let's say, the United States or whatnot, or in some cases, Brazil. I know Africans who live in Brazil. If he's sending money and then the families, the wife's going to be like, hey, what about my family? What about our kids? Can't those people over there where you're from take care of themselves? And I could imagine, because a lot of African guys are married to locals. Let's be real about that. Mm-hmm. And they sending, money to their families. And I could see things be a little bit more complicated due to that, especially a person who might not have the understanding about that.
Yeah, you're right. You see, while I'm emotional towards it, I just stopped I'll be used like that. You know what I mean? I'll be used like that. I'm not going to lie to you, bro. I'll be used like that. When my father died, my mother was a widow. My mother have 7 children. I step in as the first son. I take good care of them. They all went to university. Some of them live in US now in Italy. You understand? They all doing well. But the day I now realize that I'm not married to a Nigerian woman like that. You understand me? That I was lucky that my wife can understand that, okay, I built a house, which they all stay in. You understand? Not too long ago, this July that I went to drove some useless ones out. And now start living my life. So yes, it might be dramatic. Oh, that's what, brother, you have changed. Yes, I've changed. So I brought some money. I have some money to buy like an investment property somewhere. My money almost got lost. I was lucky that I could get that money back. You understand? So when you see this kind of things, there's nothing like, I'm telling you, since 1997, I've been taking care of my own family till this year, July.
I think Ola gets you, but that is that's your own personal decision. That's my point I'm trying to make. You thought you had the money to take care of your family, and you gave yourself that responsibility. So you are the architect of the problem you created yourself. So the black tax, we are imposing that upon us. That's my argument. The family is not doing that. If they say, give me money, you say, I don't have. These people will complain, then they will sit quiet. They will go on with their normal life as they used to. That's just the truth.
Yes, I understand. I understand. Maybe you might come from a family that is well to do. You understand? But let's say you come from a family, these people need some. You need to really give a happy hand to lift them up. You understand me? Sometimes, depending on your position of the family, like me, that is like a first son, I have to step in my father's shoes. Then I did, but the process of doing, you understand. But nobody will, even when they have their own money, they hide it because they have never stepped into that responsibility before. They bro, I don't have money. I'm a small child. Even when they have, even those in America and Italy, you think, okay, I've helped you. I sent you to university. I did that. When trouble comes to the family, okay, they still want to depend on me. So what I'm saying is, it's not about this black tax. If you're not smart, my brother, you will be poor. If you're not smart, you will never see nothing for your life.
I remember this is before. So at one point in time, right, niggas like we used to be immigrants. We used to be asylum seekers, right? Why? Because my dad's dusty tribe tried to do bad things related to the whatever. So the thing is this, right? There was a time when my mom was working a lot of jobs, 3 jobs. One of them was she was cleaning and doing other stuff. And, mind you, she's a woman with 2 master's degrees, etc. And here's the thing. When she saw the family members living in Kenya, right, these guys were living fat and flourishing. They had all the amenities that we didn't have. They lived in a nicer house. They had a driver. They had 3 cars, like we talk about Land Rovers and stuff. And she was actually sending them upkeep money every month, right? So it's kind of interesting. Now, what this means is this, right? I'm not closely related to my dad's family. In fact, I don't know any of them, as in 0 of them. I'm not in contact with them. Do you know why? My mom told me that my dad's side of the family, because of where they come from, they're poor. They have no money. Okay, I do know a couple of them, but I just don't speak to them, right? They said that they're poor, so my mom didn't want me to be affected by black tax, right? This is before this term black tax was even accounted for. Now, why did she do this? Because she thought, right, and in well-meaningness is that I value culture and stuff like that. She was just trying to be good to me. In the end, I don't think I would have helped these dusties regardless, because I'm not really culturally as African as some people, right? I have to admit it. I prefer white man's culture. So I'm just putting out there. I know exactly what Ola is saying, and I also understand what Ike is saying. So there's different elements. There's the upper class, sort of richer, or people who want to play the game of the big man as aspect. Then there's also the middle class guy who's just slightly better off in the West, working hard, and he's being forced into this game through emotional manipulation. And the emotional manipulation here, in this case specifically, is family, right? What they do is they make you feel like, you're not part of the family. I remember when Sarah, right? So, my girl's friend came over. She was trying to emotionally manipulate me into walking them in the night outside to the shops. Now, Sarah told her straightforward, Kaiser is not someone you can manipulate. He's just going to do whatever he wants to do. Now, I did walk them. Why? Because they made a good argument. They said, hey, look, it is your house. You're responsible, right? So point I'm trying to make here is I think there's different games being played, different kinds of personalities being allowed, and their feelings sort of in this sort of landscape. Me, they tried it on me. I was like, bro, I'm not a big man. Yes, I can be a big man for the moment, but I'm not going to be a transtemporal big man, right? Never. So yeah, I think, Ola, you have to learn or learn. You have to decide not to play that game all the time. Help them when you want. And when you realize, hey, your kids need a new TV, your kids need, I don't know, whatever it is that they need, prioritize your kids, man, and your immediate families.
I want to touch on what Kaiser said, Ola said, because I feel like our experiences are so similar and we don't even realize it. Like what Ola was saying, like that's a very big problem, at least in the States. There's a lot of like marriages that are like breaking apart due to the amount of money that's being sent abroad, sent back home, quote unquote. And the people back home will, oh, you know, we're about to die. Like you'll be hearing the craziest stories in the world. Meanwhile, if you don't send them money, they'll be okay. I feel like a lot of us have to change the way our relationship with that place, you know, donating 10 to 15% or even 20% of your salary every month to people who are struggling, right? Because of government system-wide issues. I mean, these are not solutions, right? I mean, are you going to really donate 20% of your salary every month for the next 40 years? That's not possible. It's like you're supporting multiple families at once. It's not realistic. We have to come up with different solutions. And sometimes, you know, for me, like I give emotional support to my family back home and they hate me for it because they feel like I should be giving them money. So I can pray for you. Somebody's birthday, I'll pray for you. I can't give you money. I'm sorry. I'm still developing my life. And I think it's a hard problem for a lot of us to solve, but that's what we have to do.
I just want to ask some question. Wait, let me just say something and ask a question. Well, what I realize, people who complain about black tax giving money to uncles and aunties, like it's common in most African countries. Like when people growing up, they may go to their uncle to get fees for schools, go to their aunts to get that for this. And before you become a man, you know, you've accumulated so many debt. It's not even like a physical debt, but you think that this your aunt help you pay your school fees, this your uncle help doing this, and even the people think, okay, you are this person today is because of us. That is a different situation. So when people grow and they say, okay, this uncle helped me, and this uncle knew I helped you to become who you are today, it's different. But if you grew up and nobody helped you to become who you are, just your mother or your dad, why are you worried about black tax? You know, as you said, we need to start changing the mentality. I just give an example. When I go home, I don't do things as I used to do. When people go and eat in local restaurants, I don't go there. I tell them it's dirty. They say, oh, you're just Europe people. When you come, you think you want to change things. Yes, we need to change it by force. We need to change this thing by force. So if you don't owe any person no money, don't give them money and see what they do.
Bro, let me just be honest to you, man. If you take care of your mother, that would be very good. If my father was alive, I would not complain, because he sent me to university. If it's only my mother, I will not complain, but there's still a family. You know, all those things. Will you give them money for you there to help you build a house in the village? Then you open the door for them to
Exactly. Why would you? Okay, good. I think those cultures, we need to start eradicating them.
So what I'm trying to say is this: is that Africa tax, if you're not smart, if you're not careful, the people you think you are helping, my brother, if there's a secret camera, you see that they eat and enjoy pepper soup, goat meat, with a bottle of big Guinness. You know, they have side chick everywhere.
Yeah, Ola, I agree with you for some point, but you know,
Kifaru seems, you seems like being influenced by the white people a lot. So now you don't want to send money to back home. Why? What
No,
is
no,
wrong?
no, no. Okay, no. Why? What is the point of you sending money back home where you yourself you're not comfortable? I said don't.
Yeah,
I'm not saying don't send, but you don't send money to random people. You send money to people you think you're obligated to help. That's my problem. And if you're doing it, if that is your obligation, or if you made that obligation, or if you entrust it on yourself, then why do you complain? People ask
yeah,
me
yeah.
on extended
Uh,
family, I tell them, over here it's difficult. I have bills to pay. I complain even more than them, and they don't ask me anymore. If it's something that is not really directly connected to me, I don't give a damn.
oh
Simple
yeah,
as that.
yeah, yeah.
That's my point.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like extended family, maybe you may not, you cannot support everybody, but like occasions, like if there is Eid, like you feel that you can buy a lamb, a big sheep for them to slaughter. That is, I think that is okay. Like, but for your immediate family, like your sister, direct sister, or your mom and dad, maybe they were working and now they are retired. Now you have the opportunity to travel out of the country. Who will sustain their living? It's you,
Do they
obviously.
have a retirement benefit?
No, my friend, African retirement benefit is next to zero. So you understand the family,
No, some do have. Some do have normal retirement
I,
benefit. But
I know, but
whatever, I get you.
calculate the number. Like my dad was a director, but he retired. This is why I even have to travel by force, because I was also serving in the military. I was happy with my salary, with my dad working as a director. Everything was okay. But the moment he started retiring in 2014, now the income, it become, less and less. Now, it has to force me to, okay, let me look for another way of, making money for my
Wow.
family.
Wow, that is too much, man. Will you want your son to do something like that for you?
No, but like I'm saying,
Exactly.
no, no, but look at this, look at this. Like, our families give, we have a lot of kids. They have a lot of kids, like of 20 something. You understand? One family. Like now, if there is no steady flow of income coming, feeding and everything, your sister,
So
direct
you
sister
make you
from.
make yourself the bank, Mal.
No, 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 no. I don't make myself. I mean, the ones I can support, like my mom and dad, that is on me directly. I will take care of that. That one I have no.
Exactly.
I have to
Yes.
bend down. You understand? But now,
Yes.
also my sisters, if they are getting married, like they need some money to do their makeup and all of those things. So it's on me to give them that money also to prepare for the ceremony. You understand?
Mal, I
So
don't get this thing. If someone is going to marry, that
yeah.
clearly means they're capable of taking care of their wife. Why are they asking you money? If you're
Oh
not
no, no,
ready
no.
to marry to pay bride price, why do you go ahead with the ceremony?
Wait. From the ladies' side, you also have to do some preparations at your home. You don't know that if you are marrying ladies, you don't
Do
have to be
ladies
there.
pay bride price, Mike? Mal? In which African countries do ladies pay bride price?
They don't pay, but they do preparations like inviting friends to their house, doing some little bit
Okay,
of
I get
for
that. Okay, that's fine. That's
that.
fine. But that's not that's not black tax. That's not recurring income that you need to send to her
But
like
that, but
all the time.
let me tell, that is not a lot of money. It's like $100 you send, they are contented with that. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you are sending millions of dollars in Africa. Because once, okay, look at this. If you receive earning, you have an earning of $4,000 here, you understand, and you send like $500 to them, that is okay. To me, that is not a problem, because obviously that 500 will solve their problem for the rest of the month. So I don't see it as a big deal. What I'm against is people like extended families, like your uncle, your niece, trying to say we don't have school fees today, we want to buy rice. No, no, that one, is too much for you. You cannot handle all of it. Yeah. So what to me, I encourage people to be sending money to their needy families back home, because I see it firsthand knowledge. When my dad was working as a director, everything was fine. The salary was okay. But remember, in Africa, once you retire, your earnings will be lower, because it will now be according to your pension. Your pensions in Africa is very bad. It can barely take care of you. Talk less about your family. Like my family we are almost 20 kids. So 20 something kids, you expect my dad to be taking care of those people, at his retirement? No, that's not possible. So that's
Yeah,
what I'm trying to
this is the thing. Yeah, Mike, I've helped like extended family members, but it's really some really specific thing. Maybe they want to write some government entrance exam. You understand? Something that you really know is going to make them give them freedom. I don't help people for dusty stuff. You understand? Or I want to go to this pastor to pray for some kind of stupid things. If you're going to help people, don't just give the money. Ask them to have a project, and I'll tell you, none of them will ask you money again. Just tell them, okay, no problem. What's the project? If you have a project, I can help you sponsor that project. Because of course, if it's okay, that's one less was a headache down. Tell them what project you want. But for mothers and fathers, well, I'm not talking about that side. That is maybe we think we do owe them some respect or some obligation. Some people's parents, they didn't have so much. That's okay. That's different case. But family members, bro, you guys need to sort out yourself. I'm not gonna lie. You
Wait, so
understand?
Kafar, I want to say, like, the way you live your life. So I think what's important here, and some people have this privilege. I know I do. Kafar, you kind of live this life. You have two options. If you can live a life that is actively, something that contributes to your own society, like Kafar, for example, has a PAA, for example, right? Or let's say you're somebody who you build wells around the world. I don't know, something like that. If your life is actively Pan-African or actively in support of your tribe or your location, then maybe you don't have to be sending as much money directly back home because your life is already helping your people. But if you're doing something where what you're due for a living is the exact opposite of your own people, and the only way you can contribute is by donating, maybe that has to be your approach. But I think the goal is to live a life that even if you don't donate money back to your own people, you're still helping your people.
Yeah, that's true, Caesar. Like donating, being like a philanthropist, you donating when you talk about your people, you mean your community at large, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, you can get and involved in some kind of community building project. You've got maybe give them some pipe-borne water. That's good. That's the kind of contribution that makes sense to me. I can do that, but not we're talking about individual family members doing nothing and just believe you owe them money because you are in the West. That's the point I was arguing for.
In
But
the long term, what you're talking about will actually help the people more than this whole give $20 every month, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Kifaro, see, you see, this your mindset is very good, is very, very powerful. Very, very nice.
Exactly. Thank you.
Let me give you an instance. Let me give you something. Look, do you know, I'm using Nigeria as an example. Do you know sometime when you try to elevate your family, even when you elevate them, right? And because you left long time, you still have emotionally like, oh, I'm no longer with them. Especially when they call you, say they're sick. You kind of like emotional, like, whoa, I don't want them to die. You send money, right? Let me just give you an example. You send money, right? Because you left for a long time, you kind of like homesick, you kind of like missing them. Because these are the people you people grow up together, you people eat together, you people brush possibility, want to brush you people mouth together when you people were small. Then this emotion is very thick. Then when you start doing all these things, right? Then come a time you say, I don't have this, what you say you don't have. Before you know, they might even turn your mother against you that you purposely have, but you don't just want to help them. Then you'll be running helter and skelter to find that money to send to them. While you yourself are not even living well. I'm just giving you an example, right? So I've seen instances in Nigeria whereby a man was scared to even go back home because his own mother turned against him. You understand? The own mother said, hey, what have you done? Let's see what your friends are doing. Your friends are coming with container. They're doing it. The guy now said, hey, no. It's just like it's my head. They're not looking for my head now on top of the plate. So what I'm trying to tell you is that sometimes this black tax can turn positive. It can also turn negative. If I have this your mind now, this mind you have now, Kifaro. That's what I'm having now. You understand me? That's what only that I'm having it in a very aggressive way towards them. You understand me? Okay,
I get you.
So I just lost my late sister. But when my sister was sick, I have to carry the whole thing. You understand me? Then the kids, because the husband died, the kids are still under my care. You understand me? Till now. I left those ones just like that. But what I try to tell you is you will lose everything. If you're not smart, I bet you can't even build 3-bedroom house for yourself. If you're not smart, if you're not smart, it will destroy your marriage, it will destroy your own life. You will not even have nothing to show. So I'm trying to say that sometimes some family are different. Maybe you might come from a family who does not ask too much, but in Nigeria, let me just tell you the truth. In Nigeria, what is really running Nigeria economy is people that live in overseas. There ain't no job there, but people are taking advantage of it and abusing it and turning you that live in overseas as a slave. Go on, bro.
We need to accept, in the West, the standard of living is like really, really high. You understand? Just your rent and your bills and your insurance is so much money, So we should just be truthful to ourselves and just stop all this black tax nonsense. If you don't owe nobody no money, don't give them anything. Simple as that. Anyway, guys, I've got some visitors, so I'll catch you later. Yeah.
Mark.
Yeah, I'm here.
Are you married to a Gambia? Because I saw some of people criticizing you or however that you have a second wife. What's going on, man?
But that's not bad. I told them I'm not fake. I just tell them what is real. Just told them that I have a American wife and I have a Gambian wife, and I'm a Muslim, and that is acceptable in my religion. So that's not a problem.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, you could have 2 wives like that.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
God damn, man. God. Your Gambian wife live in Gambia or live in the US with you?
In Gambia.
All right. Okay, man. You straight, dog. You straightforward. You just tell them straight, hey, I got a wife. All right. You like Akon now. You like Akon, man. God.
The problem is most of the people who come here, if you wanna hide, I have a Nigerian brother with me here. Like he is married in Gambia. He is married in Nigeria. I work with him at the same place, and now he want to get married. Here also, but he don't want to tell this girl the truth. When the girl discovered that he is married, and they broke up quickly. But if you go in there, tell them, my friend, hey, I have a wife in Gambia. I have kids. Okay. So now, I'm staying here, I'm living here. If you want, I don't want to be fornicating or playing out. I want to marry you as my second wife. They will agree. Even the white girls, ladies agree with that. So that's not a problem. If they agree, you marry them. Simple. If they don't, then you move along. Simple. But if you don't tell them, they will discover it, because you cannot be a married man that your wife in Gambia, you expect to have a woman married here without her knowing. That is impossible, because your wife will call you and you have to receive the call. So, but once you tell him, you are free. You don't have to worry anymore. Yeah.
Hey, Caesar, do you believe in polygamy? Would you marry 2 wives?
Yes, I do believe in polygamy, and yes, I would marry 2 wives.
Cool. He's just out here soaking up game and shit.
Man, bro, not me, man. I grew up in the polygamous home, man. I know the hell out of that thing, man. I praise my love for being able to do that, man. But for me now, I'm not going near that. I see what polygamists can do, man. If you're not strong.
It depends on how you handle it, and also it depends on your community. Like, if the husband is very straightforward among all the wives or 2 wives, it's easy. Especially the best thing is if you have a foreign woman and a local woman, they get along really good because they want to learn from each other. Like getting 2 local women, that sometimes there is friction and everything. But when you have a foreign lady and a local lady, they don't friction that much because they want to learn from each other. They want to communicate. They communicate even more. they call each other without you even knowing, because they are all curious. You know what I'm saying? So it's really, I think, that is the best way to go about it.
If you're rich, it's really easy to do that kind of stuff. But if you're not necessarily a millionaire, it becomes much more difficult, especially in the West.
I mean, if they are all living with you in the West, now in Europe or America, it's easy. These ladies walk. It's not like Africa. Ladies will just be sitting down. You will be providing for them. You understand? So
Exactly.
the best thing,
Mal is
exactly.
pimping them too. Nice.
Huh? Yeah. So now what is here? They are all working. Like this American lady has, she's a manager. So you think she's giving me money? So you understand? So I don't have to suffer paying bills. No. She paid all her bills and everything, and even give me some extra money. You understand? So you don't have to worry. Look for ladies who are rich. Don't look for these poor people in the street. That is the biggest problem. In the West, ladies work. Okay. In Africa, my wife, there don't do nothing. So what will I do? Everything I have to provide. Everything I have to provide. But here, no. I work for myself, and my wife work for herself. You understand? So we pay our bills jointly, and she make more money than me.
Mal, if you make a class, you'll make a lot of money, man. You got to make an online class, man. How to have multiple wives in the West.
Well, there are a lot of people who have it here. I don't know. Maybe you guys, there are a lot of people here. Yeah.
Now, I hate to ask about race. What racial background is your American wife?
She's American. She's a black American. But black Americans are all mixed race people.
Well, is she? Well, yeah. Well, we're not going to go that topic. We're not going to breach that. But is she part of your religion?
No, she don't have to be part of my religion. She's not. She's
I mean,
still a
is
Christian.
she part of your religion? Because usually in the African American community, and I'm just speaking as an
She's a
African American, who's frown on stuff like that. We will consider her weak.
she is a Christian. Okay, I'm a Muslim, and that is acceptable in Islam. My
Now, how
kids will be my.
do her family feel about that? Because I know my family, we would never let that fly. We probably would disown her.
Oh no. It depends.
Hey, Brian.
Whoa.
I'm talking about from my. What I'm saying is, I'm talking about in my family. Now, everybody's family is different.
Yeah, but why will you disown her? This is
Ask
her
you a question.
choice.
If I had a daughter, I do have a daughter, two daughters.
Oh, shit.
If
If
you
my
marry
daughter
her,
came
no.
to me, if my daughter came to
Hey,
me,
what's your name? Is it Spring Shipley,
and
whatever? I
told
thought your
me
name was
that
Brian. You're Brian, right? Why are you using this Shipley, whatever the hell it is, man? What's it?
shrimp
Shipping and cheese,
and
geese.
cheese
What
bread.
is that, man? Well, your name is Brian, right?
You've been in New Orleans, Mike. You've been in New Orleans before,
Yeah, I
so
know
I'm
you
just
as Brian,
saying.
but you're not answering. That's what I'm thinking. Is it the same Brian that I used to know? I was going to ask you a question. Do you think is high time maybe the African American community are start like seeing polygamy as normal and just practice it? Because it really doesn't. When I look at it, really doesn't make sense when you guys believe in this monogamy, and then I will see guys that will leave dump a woman because he wants a new woman, and I'm like, yo. And then you've been with this lady
That's
for
morality right there.
maybe
That's
10
morality.
years. What's
No,
that?
that's not going to happen. I mean, it's not acceptable.
No, what I'm saying is, okay. Does this make sense at all? Okay, I also see this because I talked to one of my black American brother friend. I said, dude, why don't you just do polygamy? Because this will happen, right? He got with this lady when they were like both 25. He was 25, she was 25, and they were together for like close to 10 years. Now, when she was 25, she was in her prime. Like she was fucking gorgeous. Like she could have got a guy, any guy, that's the time where she get approached. Now you're 35, she's 35, right? She's out of her prime. You're still in your prime because guys, we're in our prime till at least, probably forever, especially when you have money. So he found a younger chick because he's in his prime. He's 35. Now he found these new, of course, naturally guys, So he saw these younger girls like 25 and she's into him. He's into her. He got money.
Now he was hiding it. He was hiding it. Eventually, of course, his main lady found out, right? So now he's in a position where he has to leave his main lady because he found this new younger chick, right? So now I'm saying you gonna put this chick in a bad position because she spent all these years with you. Now she's 35. Now you telling her she gotta go back on the in the market to go find a guy. She's not gonna find a guy like your caliber again. You get what I'm saying? She's
Yeah, I
got to
understand
step
what you're
down
saying,
because
Mike.
she's no longer in her prime. So
I
don't
can
you
see
think it
that.
makes sense that you just do polygamy? Keep her married, keep her with you, y'all stay together, keep the relationship going, keep the marriage going, and just get a second wife.
What about, here's the thing. What about he was getting rusty and dusty and all that stuff. And
Say
then
it
she
again.
decided, what
What
about if
if?
it was the reverse?
What do you mean the
Hold
reverse?
on,
In what sense?
hold on. I got a call. Hold on. Real estate call. Hold on.
Yeah, Mike, I agree with you on that because there are more women than men. It's the only. What's weird about in America is people are okay with being a baby mama. They would rather
Yeah,
be a baby
it's
mama.
bad. You notice that a lot of so many single Black American women, like many of them, it's not like they didn't have a man for a while. Like the guy literally moved to a younger girl. Or, I mean, like
Yep.
it's terrible. Like these women now, they're like, what happened is they in their late 30s, 40s, and they're single. Not because they never had a good relationship before, or married before, or had a man before. They had a man they found during their prime, and the guy
Yeah.
liked them. They love each other. The relationship is good, and often because the guy want to freaking get with a younger chick and just divorce her and go marry the new girl. Whereas in Africa, they keep the for wife. Like she's the main wife. You know what I'm saying? Like in fact, she's even the most powerful among all the wives. But she may not get the night, activity more as the younger wives. But she's still the most powerful chick in the family. Like she's the first wife. She's not, you don't let her go. Like it doesn't make sense. Now she's gonna in Africa they keep her. They just marry the younger wife just come in as second wife.
Yeah,
But in America, these
exactly.
black guys they just dump the lady, and you got a bunch of single late middle-aged women.
Yup, a lot of single middle-aged women.
Exactly, Mike. So, what I'm trying to say is, okay, why are the ladies happy of being single mom when actually you have a lot of kids? Like you can have 10 baby mama daddies or 4 baby daddies. You don't get married, but somebody came and tell you, man, you don't have to get 3 baby mamas or 4. I can be your only man. You will be my second wife. That is more reasonable than having
Exactly.
different baby daddies. Still now you are not married. What is the point of it? Or because you don't want to be a second wife? And
No.
now the ladies are everywhere. It doesn't make sense.
So here's the thing. This is how they reason, and it's kind of, I don't know how you guys feel about it. They feel like, look, I would rather just be a baby mama and I can still kind of do what I want versus being a second wife and be attached to you. That's their philosophy.
No, that's not true. That's not true. Trust me.
That's
Trust
what
me.
it is. You don't think that's it?
In some cases, but in most cases, no, Caesar, listen to me, dude. In most cases, these women still want this guy back. They want him. They want him. Like they literally want it. They trust me, man. They want that guy. In fact, when a woman is in love with you, dude, she doesn't give a shit about the other woman, dude. She would freaking